Now that displays with HDR, high dynamic range, Sparta becoming more common, organizers of the 2019 Game Developers Conference want to assure you, do not overlook a great talk at this year's show that's all about how to do HDR support right. Specifically, as part of GDC 2019's programming checkoff, tax various visions can to disco will present, not so little light, bringing Destiny 2 to HDR displays. A detailed look at the approach taken to support HDR in Destiny 2. This session covers the techniques used to achieve high-quality HDR output in Destiny 2 that preserves Destiny's unique look and reflects on the lessons learned from the work. Moreover, Disco will give you a real look at new advancements introduced since the game shipped, and look forward to how we can better support this technology in the future. If you are at all invested in HDR for your next game, you want to see this talk. Further details on these talks and many more are available now on GDC 2019 session scheduler. There you can begin to lay out your GDC 2019, which takes place March 18th through the 22 at the newly renovated Moscow Center in San Francisco. Bring your team to GD, register a group of 10 or more and save 10% on conference passes. Learn more HDR. For more details on GDC 2019 visit the show's official website, or subscribe to regular updates via Facebook, Twitter, or Gamasutra and GD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. The most important thing I wanted to capture with the game was an unsettling feeling of things being off, says Mike McGonagall, developer of edutainment horror mixture, Bodies Basics in Education and Learning. I did not want to go flat out horror. I just wanted to create a mishmash of different things that do not quite meld together right, but also do not seem ridiculously over the top and crazy. Bodies Basics begins innocuously enough, tasking players with finding notebooks and solving trivia questions within a crude, explorable 3D world. As players fill questions and wonder, though, the sense of unease permeates events and meetings. One created by the visuals being purposely made to look a little bit off, not unlike many past educational games the developer has seen or played. McGonagall draws upon accidentally unsettling visual elements of old educational games to create a disturbing world, embodies basics, and in doing so creates unease from a general sense of something being wrong, and not so much from a frightening creature stalking the player. The game's budding antagonist is far from terrifying, but through the game's visual design, McGonagall harnesses unease to make the player feel dread, even if they cannot pinpoint a reason why they feel that fear. By making things look off, he can create fear before the player even knows what they should be scared of. By moving away from monsters and dark holes, and into places that simply do not feel right, the developer can also open up horror to people who might not find it tolerable, opening the genre up to new audiences. The main inspiration for Bodies Basics is pretty much Sonic's Schoolhouse. I never played it growing up, but when I first saw it, I was immediately creeped out by it, and that was pretty much where the idea came from, says McGonagall. Bodies Basics does not immediately strike fear into the player's heart. There's nothing especially frightening about the schoolhouse, or the man who wants to help you with your audition. Similarly, most of the educational games that inspired the game are not exactly terrifying along their own, either, but through small visual elements that conflict with one another, they create a discomfort in the player. The EPONYMOUSHORROR Bodies Basics This particular anise was created through McGonagall's experience and research into educational games and the many accidentally frightening elements within them. I do not believe there's any one game that scared me when I was little, but I do know there were plenty of different things in different games that gave me the creeps, says McGonagall. One thing that was common in a lot of edutainment games that always creeped me out was the sight of uncanny CG graphics they would use. It was pretty cheap looking, but not TOCHEAP looking. The characters and animated stuff were also often 2D, which made the CG stuff look even more out of place. Mixing two visual styles was one way that some of these past educational games would accidentally create unease, mainly done through these conflicting, inconsistent art styles. By not sticking to any one particular look, it would dredge up this sense that something was wrong, even if it may only be the fact that the art style do not look right together at all. A shot of Bap Interactive's 1996 Bingo Sonic and Schoolhouse. A good example would be Reading Blaster Chamber. Most of the scenery was CG, and I specifically remember this one game where you could collect these toys, and they always gave me the creeps. Hold on, now, I gotta go look it up. Oh great, that's gonna haunt my dreams for a bit I think. He continues. Beyond the conflict between the two art styles, there is a crudeness to the visuals of the toys in Reading Blaster Player. In one mini-game, there are animals and objects within the scene that are in 3D, with this contrasted against the animated characters, who also appear. The 2D animated characters move and shift their eyes, but the 3D animated ones stand utterly still, eyes moving and then blinking. The juxtaposition of the two styles, however accidental, makes the 3D characters feel unnerving in their stillness. Reading Blaster Chamber, released in 1995. I also remember one time at the library, there was a Reader Rabbit game on one of the computers, and Reader Rabbit was just standing there, his normal 2D self, when the itsy bitsy spider started playing something, and he started doing the hand motions, except his hands were not 2D, they were CG. It pretty much freaked me out, says McGonagall. The tone element definitely influenced Body's basics art style in a lot of ways. Obviously, Body and some other characters are CG, though they do not quite capture that uncanny look I was talking about. Still, the sort of creepy, uneasy feeling those elements give me is the same feeling I was shooting for in the game. He continues. That inconsistency in art style seems to begin to create a revulsion in the player, one that makes the player wish to remove themselves from the play space. Not unlike the fear that drives them to flee a lethal monster, it's a sense that something is very wrong with this place. If only from the jarring differences in art style, this is put to work in the game, through varied art styles for objects and characters. The game refusing to settle on one concrete visual design for everything. It creates a sense that the world is not put together right, developing that important unease in the player. The main inspiration for Body's basics was old 3D games, the kind with billboarding sprites that slide around, low-resolution textures, and maze-like levels that are easy to get lost in. The most important thing I wanted to capture in trying to mimic this style was probably the feeling the cheap 3D games often gave, says McGonagall. There's an old game I have seen footage of called 3D Dinosaur, Save the Dinosaurs, where you have to wander around a 3D map finding dinosaurs, or something. Anyways, that game has a graphics style similar to Body's basics in a lot of ways. For example, It's incredibly inconsistent. You have got wood and fur textures that vary from solid colors to photorealistic. There are billboarding, photorealistic bugs and dinosaurs, but then cartoony portraits of dinosaurs on the wall. The inconsistency in graphics style and the low quality of it all makes the game just feel off and unsettling, at least to me. He continues. Another game that inspired the look I was going for is the Museum of Anything Goes, says McGonagall. That game is all pre-rendered, but it has exactly the sort of feeling I wanted to capture. In the game, you basically just walk through an art museum. It seems empty, but every screen tends to have some sort of person, I think, screen on to do something.